A diplomatic firestorm is brewing along the world's longest undefended border. The Canadian province of British Columbia is threatening to sever a vital American artery, the land route to Alaska. This lifeline supports commerce, military transport, and thousands of U.S. citizens. Triggered by renewed U.S. tariff threats, a stable relationship is now at a breaking point. What began as a trade dispute has escalated into a sovereign challenge, raising questions about the future of North American cooperation. The U.S. and Canada share deep economic and cultural ties, but today, that partnership feels fragile. The potential closure or tolling of a key U.S. transportation corridor is economic brinkmanship rarely seen between these nations. Global markets and analysts are watching. Is this a temporary squall or the start of a permanent fracture? This is not just about politics or economics, it's about people whose lives and livelihoods depend on cross-border cooperation. The world is watching because this conflict is a microcosm of a larger global trend, balancing domestic interests with international partnerships. Can these two neighbors find a path back to diplomacy, or will they slide into a cycle of retaliation with lasting consequences? In a bold move, British Columbia has introduced the Economic Stabilization, Tariff Response Act. This legislation gives the province authority to impose tolls on highways used by U.S. traffic heading to and from Alaska. Premier Nikki Sharma calls it a necessary response to aggressive U.S. tariff threats. The act is designed as a temporary precautionary measure set to expire in 2027. We are not seeking conflict, we are seeking stability, Sharma said, emphasizing the need to protect local industries. The specifics of the tolls remain vague, an intentional strategy to create uncertainty for U.S. policymakers and businesses. The message: disrupt our economy and we can disrupt yours. This is high-stakes negotiation, using geography as leverage. U.S. officials have responded sharply. Alaska Senator Dan Sullivan threatened to reroute cruise ships, which would devastate BC's tourism sector. The rhetoric is escalating, turning a tariff threat into a battle over transportation and tourism. What started as a trade dispute is now a tense geopolitical chess match. Each side is weighing its next move and the potential consequences. The outcome could redefine cross-border relations for years to come. The stakes are high and neither side appears ready to back down. The Alaska Highway is more than a road. It's a symbol of U.S.-Canada wartime alliance. Built in 1942 after Pearl Harbor, over 10,000 U.S. soldiers carved the 500-mile route through Canada in under 9 months. For over 80 years, it's been a vital economic and cultural corridor, carrying goods and people to Alaska. This history of peaceful passage makes BC's toll threat so jarring, a break from decades of trust. The U.S. has long contributed to highway maintenance, recognizing its importance. Now these infrastructure agreements are at risk, threatening a system that's worked for generations. The highway, once a monument to unity, is now a point of contention. The idea of Americans paying a toll to drive to Alaska is, for many, unthinkable. It forces a re-evaluation of the U.S.-Canada relationship in the 21st century. The spirit of partnership is being tested like never before. What happens next could reshape the meaning of cross-border cooperation. Alaska's response stands apart from the heated rhetoric in Washington. State leaders are urging calm and de-escalation, passing a resolution reaffirming Canadian sovereignty and condemning retaliatory measures. Anchorage Republican Chuck Kopp emphasized the deep ties between Alaska and its Canadian neighbors, saying, "We are more than just neighbors, we are family." The resolution appeals for a return to diplomacy, warning that a trade war would hurt Alaska, BC, and the Yukon. If passed, it will be sent to President Trump, Prime Minister Trudeau, and BC's Premier. Not all Alaskans agree, some support a tougher U.S. stance, but the majority value partnership over conflict. The view from the border is different from the nation's capital, where political pressures run high. Alaska's call for cooperation highlights the real-world impact of national disputes on local communities. The debate reflects a broader national conversation about trade, sovereignty, and America's role in the world. The Yukon, wedged between Alaska and BC, is in a precarious spot. Its economy and daily life depend on the Alaska Highway, a lifeline now at risk. Yukon Premier Ranj Pillai has become a key advocate for peaceful resolution, warning of dire consequences if the dispute escalates. He testified in Juneau, stressing the seamless relationship between Yukon and Alaska and the importance of cross-border cooperation. "A tariff is not just a number, it's a threat to our partnership," Pillai said, while firmly defending Canadian sovereignty. Yukon relies on access through BC and strong ties with Alaska. Disruption threatens its stability. The territory's leaders know that for remote communities, cooperation is a necessity, not a choice. The dispute also jeopardizes joint infrastructure projects, like the Shockwalk Agreement, now on hold. This pause creates uncertainty for Yukon, which depends on U.S. funding to maintain its main transportation link. Diplomatic tensions in Washington and Ottawa have direct, tangible impacts on people in the north. The Yukon situation reveals how interconnected and vulnerable these border regions truly are. Their future depends on dialogue, not division. The economic fallout from this standoff could be immense. New U.S. tariffs would hit BC's forestry, aluminum, and wine industries hard. In response, BC's toll threat aims to deter U.S. action by leveraging the Alaska Highway. Alaska's economy is uniquely vulnerable. Nearly all goods arrive via the highway or by sea. Tolls would raise costs for every Alaskan, impacting businesses and consumers alike. The tourism sector is also at risk. Rerouting cruise ships would devastate BC's ports and economy. A prolonged conflict could unravel decades of integrated supply chains, forcing businesses to find costly alternatives. The result: higher prices, fewer choices, and economic pain on both sides of the border. The ripple effects would be felt far beyond the north. Dr. Melissa Hayes, a U.S.-Canada relations expert, says this standoff signals a fundamental shift. For decades, both countries saw their relationship as exceptional. Now, that's changed. Canada and its provinces are adopting a more transactional, hard-nosed approach. Mirroring the US-BC's toll threat is a classic case of a middle power using geography to push back. The province is betting that targeting Alaska will get Washington's attention and force a tariff rethink. If successful, this could set a precedent. Other provinces or states might use similar tactics in future disputes. Imagine Quebec restricting electricity to New York, or a U.S. state blocking Canadian goods. Every border crossing could become a choke point, undermining the integrated North American economy. The foundation of the USMCA trade agreement is at risk. Dr. Hayes says the path forward depends on whether leaders can rediscover a shared sense of purpose. The Alaska access dispute will reveal if the special relationship can be repaired or if a new era of friction is here to stay. The world is watching for the answer. For border communities, this dispute is personal. In towns like Haines, Alaska, and Haines Junction, Yukon, families, businesses, and events cross the border daily. A small business owner in Stewart, BC, relies on customers from Hyder, Alaska. The threat of tariffs and tolls creates anxiety and threatens livelihoods. First Nations and Native Alaskan tribes, whose traditional territories straddle the border, face even greater uncertainty. An escalating trade war could further restrict movement, disrupt cultural ties, and erode centuries-old connections. The human cost is often lost in headlines, but it's the most significant consequence of this standoff. The true strength of the US-Canada relationship lies in its people, not just treaties or trade deals. North America stands at a crossroads. One path leads to escalation: retaliatory tariffs, tolls, and a hardened border, harming both nations. The other path is diplomacy, stepping back, lowering rhetoric, and returning to negotiation. The Alaskan resolution calls for mutual respect and shared interests. The next steps are crucial. The world is watching to see if leaders choose negotiation or conflict. The fate of infrastructure, economies, and communities hangs in the balance. This is a moment to ask: should the US-Canada relationship be defined by conflict or cooperation? The choice made today will echo for generations. The long history of friendship deserves nothing less.